Welcome to Unbounded Potential's Go Beyond series with your hosts, Karen King and Selma from Radis. Our mission is to help you tap into your innate potential by providing you with cutting-edge speakers and leading-edge information.
You will receive the insights, tools, strategies, and mindset that you need to empower yourself so that you can empower others as together we empower the world.
Well, welcome to the series Predictions, Forecasts, and Transformation in 2016. I'm Karen, and with my co-host Selma, we want to thank you for joining us. Our world has never needed more compassionate, brave dreamers and bright, perceptive souls doing great things in the world as it does now. 9 extraordinary speakers have come together in this series to inspire you to maximize the opportunity of this fresh year of 2016. They all hold the intention to help you progress forward to find truth, peace, beauty, and even opportunity and success in the midst of challenges. Today's guest is said to have a remarkable direct knowing that allows her to have a powerful conversation with one's soul. She also will share powerful heart-based teachings and practices, as well as lead us through a Mayan ritual guided visualization and a heart-calming Tibetan meditation mantra. I'm so excited to get started. Selma, what other details can you give about our guest?
Well, I'm really excited to get started, too. What's that song? I'm just ready. Dana Micucci has enjoyed a decades-long career as a widely published journalist and author writing about art, culture, travel, and spirituality. Now, her books include the spiritual travel memoir, Sojourns of the Soul, One Woman's Journey Around the World and Into Her Truth, a gold winner in the 2013 Nautilus Book Awards, and a new novel, The Third Muse, a metaphysical time travel mystery inspired by Renaissance ideals, the divine feminine teachings of the Magdalene Order, and the healing power of love. Now, based in Taos, New Mexico, after many years in New York City, she has a private healing practice and conducts transformational events worldwide. Now, she says all her work, whether it's writing, speaking, mentoring, and healing services, carries a transformational healing vibration aimed at empowering people to live to their fullest potential. It has been said that it's not just Dana's words, but the energy behind her words that is life-changing. Now, Dana also says, all my work comes from the heart and carries a healing vibration. My aim is to inspire people to ignite and accelerate a fearless journey towards wholeness. We are all fellow travelers here, and we can work together to create heaven on earth. Welcome to the show, Dana Micucci.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That was such a beautiful and humbling introduction. Thank you, Selma and Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Our pleasure. We've been looking forward to it.
I want to make sure that we pronounce your name correctly. Is it Dana or Dana? And is it Micucci?
You had it right earlier. It's Dana Micucci.
Okay, got it. Micucci. That's that coochie coochie coo.
Right.
Remember on Ed Sullivan, Topo Gigio.
Right. Right, I do remember that.
Okay, we're dating ourselves here.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's New York, and Dana's doing that to us, as who knew the Ed Sullivan, right? Okay.
Right. I remember him, too. Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go.
Years ago, Dana, Elizabeth Gilbert became a sensation with her book and the movie, Eat, Pray, Love, in which she shares her soul-searching adventures. In a similar vein, Dana, you share the gifts of your own adventures, traveling to 7 of the most exotic sacred destinations on Earth, from the Australian outback to Angkor, Cambodia, Egypt, Tibet, the Yucatan, New Mexico, and Peru, to explore their ancient mysteries and esoteric wisdom. Share with us a few of your journey highlights that has led you to your own greater personal awakening and spiritual path. And don't leave out the good parts.
The crocodiles and the snakes now, all the highlights there.
All the good stuff. Okay. Well, yes, I am so excited to have been able to write Sojourns of the Soul. That came out in 2011, and it won a gold medal in the Nautilus Book Awards. And, Selma and Karen, I had been, as a journalist, traveling around the world doing article assignments for magazines. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be a freelancer, I want to be as free as possible. And I have always been a seeker. I have always, for as long as I can remember, on this path of self-mastery, a path to wholeness, which is a path, that we're all on, whether we're conscious of it or not, and really deeply, deeply desiring to push myself to the edge of who I know myself to be. And I still feel like I'm walking that edge. It's as if it's a self-created, what I call discomfort zone. And to push me to new levels of inner growth and ongoing expansion of my soul. So those journeys evolved because I was guided to do these magazine assignments, which were about art and culture and travel, in sacred sites. I was somehow guided there by spirit because I knew that these assignments were far beyond the articles themselves, and that the articles were really a catalyst for my own ongoing inner illumination, as I mentioned. And so I would remember sitting in my editor's office saying, I really need to go to Bali, and he would just roll his eyes. He'd go, well, what is what's there? And so I would find ways to weave a story into my travels, and yet I had so many what I call initiations into greater spiritual knowledge, knowledge of myself, mystical activations, many magical happenings, and I chose 7 of the most powerful journeys. There were many more, and you mentioned a few of them, Karen, and one was to the Australian outback, where I really delved deeply into the Aboriginal wisdom of the First Peoples. And I call the Aborigines masters of divine embodiment. And this has become a theme for me on my own spiritual path about the need to be really fully grounded, right, into Mother Earth as we continue to expand our consciousness and, open and activate our chakras. I know you just had a wonderful show on the 12 chakras and our 7 main spiritual energy centers, in addition to all the other ones. And all of this other inner work that we're doing, we can sometimes spend too much time in the higher chakras, right? Moving out through the crown, and that's great, connecting with the cosmos, but really what's been hammered home to me over and over again, and beginning in the Australian outback, now that was many years ago, is the need to really ground this in, because we cannot be of service as effectively here on Mother Earth unless we can do that. And, and as I synchronized with what I call this timeless, eternal wisdom of the outback, which was beyond what I expected, in really connecting deeply with Mother Nature and all of the exotic flora and fauna there that we've all read about or seen. For a city girl, that was quite, I lived in New York City for most of my life, and that was really transforming. And I remember spraining my ankle on the plane to Sydney, and we were hiking through the outback investigating Aboriginal rock art, and I thought, how on earth will I complete these difficult hikes, which were along the rocky escarpments and through the caves and in some, somewhat dangerous situations. Well, my ankle magically healed within a day or so. And it was a very, very bad sprain, yes. And so many of whether it was into the Peruvian Amazon, where I worked with sacred plant medicines, right, with the Peruvian shamans, and went to Machu Picchu, or exploring the monasteries of Tibet, for example, and their very powerful heart-based teachings. And even here at home in New Mexico. I live in Taos, New Mexico now, and I spent a week, and then afterwards much more time. But for the purposes of the chapter in my book, I spent a week at a Benedictine monastery in the gorgeous Chama River Canyon outside of Abiquiu here in the desert. So all of these journeys, I found, not only brought me deeper into an embodied, felt experience of my own spirituality and ongoing infinite expansion. It's infinite for all of us, but also deeper and deeper into my heart center. And it was interesting to note why. And I really believe, just like my ankle healed in the outback, or, for example, in Egypt, when I was investigating a newly discovered tomb, KV5, you may have heard about that. That was years ago. Kenneth Weeks is an American archaeologist based in Cairo. And he discovered this new tomb, and I was determined to write about it. Well, it was not easy to get there. My assignment was threatened to be canceled a number of times. And by the time I arrived, I was told that I could not get into the tomb, and therefore really had no assignment. I did have an inkling of this before I went, and I chose to go anyway, because I knew that there was so much more for me there, and that it was really so much about also expanding my own mystical gifts and talents, which we all have, and learning how to trust myself more and surrender more to the magic of the moment, right? And that particular trip, I went right after a terrorist massacre at the Hatshepsut Temple. I think it was in the 1990s, very tragic. I was followed around Egypt by an armored vehicle with Egyptian soldiers and guns. And the same thing in Cambodia when I went there to write about the preservation efforts at Angkor Wat. It was a fairly dangerous time to be there. Pol Pot had just fallen from power, and there were still a number of his henchmen in the Kulen Hills around Siem Reap, the small provincial town in the Cambodian jungles. There were landmines all around. So whether it was intentional on some subliminal level, intentional or not, that I was in these sometimes physically dangerous situations. What that does, it really threatens to throw you off center and distract you, right? So,
of course.
Right.
But
so I would.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, so go ahead. No, I was just saying. But you were being threatened from different kind of avenues, but something inside of you said, there's just something to be learned here. There's I don't know, like an adventure or something, but there's a connection there, and you need to find out a little bit more.
Right, and so I would then constantly have to, and this is one of my favorite mantras now, whatever the distraction was. Dana, the Antiquities Department has determined that it's not safe for you to go into KV5, right? I hear just right before I left and as I landed in Egypt, or the landmines in Cambodia as I was, running around to all of these gorgeous temples of the spirit at Angkor to write about the preservation efforts there, or whatever. Or I would, be worried about not getting another magazine assignment while I was away, or why hasn't my boyfriend called me? Well, I realized that, you begin to, sometimes when you really put yourself on the edge, and we don't have to go to far-flung exotic places to be shown this, by the way, as we all know, can happen when we're walking down the aisle in a grocery store. We begin to observe ourselves. We begin to see where our attention is. And what I noticed, the theme running throughout so many of these journeys, is that the only place to be, and we've heard this all before, that I got hit with a cosmic crowbar, which is what I call a number of times until I got it, is in that eternal now, which is when we have stepped outside of time. And the Sufi mystic and Persian poet, the famous poet Rumi, one of his famous quotes is, "Step out of the circle of time and into the circle of love." And so we could translate the circle of love as being truly and deeply focused, living through and being guided by our heart center at all moments. And when we're there, and I started to mention earlier, one of my favorite mantras is drop out of your head and into your heart. It's seemingly simple, but very profound in its practice. And I have found throughout all of these adventures, it's an ongoing moment-by-moment vigilance of noticing where is my attention. And I have a great story, Selma and Karen, about how that was pointed out to me when I was staying at the Benedictine monastery called Christ in the Desert in the high desert of northern New Mexico in Albuquerque. Gorgeous. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen, and it's hard to believe now that it's almost in my backyard. But I remember for a New Yorker, I'll tell you, I called that an extreme experiment in silence and slowness. You know, I had to laugh at myself. I was, racing to the meals. I mean, the meals were in silence, right? I was racing to the meals, and then I was done before everyone else, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Now what do I do? Should I do the dishes or like what?
Right. So, I was always catching myself. Now, let me add that this is a lifetime of experience, right? I mean, those journeys that I wrote about in Sojourns of the Soul began in my early 30s, and now I'm in my mid-50s. So, but they happened over time, the 7 that I chose, which had the most powerful transformational effect on me. But to get back to my story, so, and I remember arriving and speaking to the guest master saying, okay, well, where's the key to my room? And he said, well, lady, you must be from New York because we don't have keys here. So I thought, okay, well, I really need to really be much more present, right? And so I practiced that. And as I began to sink deeper into, which I think are 2 really important words for our time right now, for all of us to be mindful of, silence and slowness, to make time for those experiences in our lives. And I found that as I was doing that, and even walking more slowly, doing whatever meditation practices I had at the time, to drop out of my head and into my heart, I experienced so much magic. And I'm sure you've all felt that, right? When we're fully living in and through our heart centers, we are in a state of almost childlike joy. And we are free of the monkey mind, as we know the Buddhists call it, the distractions of the monkey mind, the fears, the doubt, the judgments that keep us needlessly separate from each other, from our own higher selves, from Source. And we feel more grounded. I began speaking about divine embodiment, being fully in our bodies. We feel more grounded, balanced, joyful, peaceful, and lighter, just simply lighter of heart. So I saw that when I was able to be in that space, and I call it the still point, and it really is about also connecting with our high heart center, which is a chakra, spiritual energy center, just above the heart. The high heart center, as you may know, connects us to universal love. It is the point, the still point from which we access unity consciousness. And yes, it works in tandem with our heart center, but it brings us to a place beyond particular love, to that universal love that we have probably all felt in fleeting moments, a universal love for everything and everyone. It's like the Buddhist practice of to bring ourselves into that high heart, beholding everyone as if they were your mother. Interesting, I would practice that on the subway in New York City sometimes. Now, if you say, well, I didn't have such a hot mother, well, then find somebody else. Pick somebody else that you love deeply. So all this comes back to, where is my attention? So at Christ in the Desert Monastery, the more that I was in the space of silence and slowness and in my high heart center, I witnessed a number of synchronicities, instant manifestations. We've had these in our lives. That happens because we're not caught up in the agitations of the mind. And I would have a thought, and it would manifest almost instantaneously. And one of my thoughts was, I'd really love to speak with one of the monks here. And they are not easy to talk to because they're behind doors and they're praying. And by the way, the monks at this particular monastery are walking around most of the day in silence with, interestingly, their heads bowed to their hearts, chanting, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy. Now, that's within the Benedictine tradition. As you know, my spiritual path, it has nothing to do with organized religion, although I recognize it for what it is and how it may be helpful for people. But my path happened outside of that. And so I had to really also look at, having rejected the Catholic faith at a young age, after a priest threw me out of a confessional at the age of 8 because I didn't answer properly. I didn't give him the right answer. Well, yes, that was hurtful and painful, and yet I have to see the blessing is that it really set me on my own alternative path of spirituality. But here, ironically, in my 40s, I find myself at this monastery, which, by the way, one can visit and really participate in the work there if you choose to do so, or just do your own thing. They are very open-minded. It is not a restrictive environment by any means, and you do not have to be practicing that faith, which I wasn't. So I wind up walking into the bookstore right after I have this thought, I'd love to speak to a monk, and who's leaning against the bookcase but Brother Ernesto, as if he were expecting me. I had not seen any monks in public before. We had a lovely chat, and again, remembering this was a challenge for me also to try to embrace a tradition that I had left, right? Or at least not to reject it, let's say. I didn't have to accept it, but I didn't have to reject it. So Brother Ernesto told me one of the wisest things I have ever heard. And I said to him, I really admire you. You've given up everything to live a life devoted to God. And I don't know how. I know I couldn't do that in the way that you have. How did you do that? He said, Dana, don't admire me. He said, being spiritual is certainly not about living in a monastery, of course, and it's not even about doing your meditations or your prayers or whatever spiritual tradition you practice. It's not even about ultimately being of service to others, which confounded me because that was my basis of spirituality. He said, oh, yes, it encompasses all of that, of course. But being spiritual ultimately is about where is your attention every moment. Where is your attention? Is it distracted, scattered by worries, doubts, fears, judgments? Or is it centered in your heart in direct alignment with your own I am presence? Because there is an energy stream that connects our high heart center of our physical body directly to the heart of our I am presence, an electronic body of light that exists about an arm's length above our crown, that is in direct alignment with Source. And this is the secret of the great mystics of the ages. And wherever I was in the world on these spiritual sojourns, delving more deeply into myself by moving further outward into the world, of course, I moved more deeply into myself. And it all came back to that central core teaching about unity consciousness, whatever method, whatever tool we have to bring us back to center in direct alignment with Source, where our attention. Now, there are many mantras, there are walking meditations, there's so many. Our Eastern traditions have given us, in particular, so many wonderful tools. Yoga, we all know what they are. And we may even have our own. And so the great mystics of the ages, including the Peruvian shamans, including the Aborigines, who as masters of divine embodiment were able to so completely integrate the sacred and the sensual energies within themselves, all of the many opposites and dualities that define this earth plane, this duality experiment, that integration happens within the alchemical crucible of our high heart center. And that high heart center is the seat of our Christ consciousness and what I call the launching pad to higher dimensions on our return path to Source. It is the launching pad of our ascension process. And by ascension, of course, we mean an ascension in consciousness. So it is about holding that paradox within ourselves. And there are, yes, the many teachings of the world's wisdom traditions and the practices. So many of them are heart-based, that are designed to take us more deeply into that high heart center, to align us more fully with the heart and mind of God or Source or the Creator, whatever your word is, so that we can step fully and completely into our own divine essence and power. And I really believe that is at the no pun intended, at the heart of all spiritual work. And this idea of mastering, we are all masters of light. I say this at my workshop. Everyone is a master in their own right. The only difference may be is that some people are remembering faster. Either way, we all have our own very important assignments here. And no one goes home unless we all go home together, going home to Source, ultimately. And so to be able to hold that paradox within by living so completely in this high heart center, which is our access to unity consciousness, is about being in this world but not of it, you see. And that is what Yeshua and Babaji and Sai Baba and Vivekananda and Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, you name it, any of the mystics of the ages were able to do, to be in this world but not of it. And that's because they were somehow able to perform that inner alchemy, which is actually called the hieros gamos, which is an ancient Greek word for inner marriage, the sacred inner marriage of opposites, is one of the most profound esoteric teachings of the ancient mystery schools, is being able to perform this sacred inner marriage of spirit and matter, masculine and feminine, light and dark, heaven and earth, right? Everything, our whole reality is defined by duality. And when we can do that, by dropping out of our minds and into our hearts, observing where our attention is in every moment, it's a continual stalking, S-T-A-L-K-I-N-G, stalking of oneself, our thoughts, feelings, perceptions, beliefs, and bringing it back. That's an ancient Toltec practice, by the way. That's one of my favorite practices, to continue to rein myself in, to gather inward into my sacred heart. And then when we're there, it's not necessarily even a conscious process, although there are meditations and practices we can do to take us there. Being that present in the eternal now, where we've stepped outside of time, and the past, present, and future collapse and coexist all together, then we are at that still point. We have integrated those dualities. Everything that keeps us separate. And we've moved beyond separation. And we are now, Selma and Karen, I know you know this because of all of the wonderful work that you're putting out there. We are at such an incredibly exciting time in our human evolution, because we all have the tools now and the connection with the internet and the information age and the divine, what I call the divine dispensation of these incredibly powerful cosmic energies coming in from the galactic center, the photon belt, the sun. I use the sun a lot in my meditation. These are all very healing, transformational energies designed to upgrade our DNA and our light quotients. Now, of course, when we are deeply committed to disciplined inner work, spiritual work, we accelerate that process. We accelerate the ascension in consciousness, not only for ourselves, but on behalf of the whole planet, of the collective, because these light codes ripple outward through the space-time continuum, and they get inserted into the planetary grid and beyond the galactic grids. Now, there are a number of different planetary grids, and the Christ consciousness grid is one of them. And this is the one that I work with in particular through the High Heart Center. So I may have been a bit long-winded, but it's really my passion, as you may be able to tell.
Absolutely. Well, might this be a good time, Dana, to take our listeners through?
Yes.
Like a high heart visualization. I think you've got one. You've got one from the Mayan rituals.
Yes, Selma. It's an excellent time to do that. And before we get into this, perfect timing. Before we get into this, I wanted to tell you about a little bit more, because you had asked me for some vivid details of my experience in these places.
Yeah,
and this will lead us
crocodiles.
in. Right, the crocodiles. Okay. Well, yeah.
The anacondas, too. Don't forget those.
Oh, the anacondas, right, and the poison, the poisonous plants of the Amazon, and, almost, being swallowed up by that great river. There were lots of, I pushed myself to the physical edge in the Amazon, for sure. And also in Tibet, I wanted to mention, which leads us into this Mayan meditation, because I saw that the Tibetan and Mayan teachings were so similar. And when I was there, as I said, I really went on a spiritual pilgrimage. That was not specifically a writing assignment. And I had turned 40, and I wanted to be at the top of the world. So that's where I went. And I will say that the contemporary tragedy of Tibet, which we all know about, was being in that, right, in the physical, and having it so visible was a very challenging experience for me. And, through the streets of Lhasa, you could see that so many of the old Tibetan buildings were bombed out, and a lot of their language was whitewashed over with new Chinese writing in its stead. And the monasteries were eerily absent of monks. Most of them had left or were thrown into jail for their allegiance to the Dalai Lama. There were surveillance cameras everywhere, and the locals could not even be seen speaking to, quote, foreigners for fear of being deported, and we could not even speak the Dalai Lama's name or carry his photo or anything like that. So this greatly agitated my heart, as it would anyone's, I'm sure. And I found myself, again, this is leading up to our practice, I found myself getting angry at what I was seeing there. And one of the young nuns at one of the monasteries who was making the little papers that you put into the prayer wheels, she broke into tears. And she said, we Tibetans, and she had to whisper to me, maybe smiling on the outside, but we're crying on the inside. So this turned out to be one of my great mystical teachings, because I had to examine my anger at why was this happening to these people, and now I had a group of people to direct the anger to, the Chinese, which, of course, ultimately was wrong, because even the Dalai Lama himself and so many of our great spiritual texts, including A Course in Miracles, one of my favorites, says anger is never justified. Anger arises from a misguided perception of separation. That is the great wound that we are all trying to heal today in our time, and I believe we can, as more and more people light each other up through our heart centers. And quantum physics is even proving that we are not isolated entities in time and space. And perhaps you've read about, probably many of you have read about the experiments of quantum physics showing that nothing, it has been proven that nothing exists without the consciousness of an observer observing it, which effectively obliterates the distinction between subject and object. And the Tibetan concept of interdependence, which I won't get into so deeply now, which is that everything is linked in a continual chain of cause and effect energies, and therefore has no inherent essence of its own. What does that do? That really, both science and spirit coming together in that way, really show us that there is no separation. That I am you and you are me in the deepest sense. And I say at my workshops, if that is true, that I am you and you are me, and I felt that at a cellular level to be true through the many initiations I had been taken through on these journeys, then there must be some big cosmic joke going on, which is there is nobody else out there. And so I found out, to get into the Mayan practice that we're going to do, the Maya believe the same thing. And they have a beautiful saying confirming that very, very ancient spiritual teaching, which, of course, Jesus put out there when he said, love one another as I have loved you. The Maya have a beautiful mantra called In Lakesh Alakain, which means I am you, you are me. I am another yourself. I hurt you. I hurt me. So let's all move into this visualization now using this beautiful sacred Mayan mantra given to me and to my group of pilgrims that I was with in the Yucatan, studying with the Mayan elder Hunbatsmen, who led us deeply into this ritual, showing us beyond a doubt that there indeed is no separation. So wherever you are in the world, if you could just take a few deep breaths and ground yourself deeply into Mother Earth. And direct your attention to your heart center. Drop out of your head and into your heart. And now, although I did this in the physical, with a circle of others, I would like you to imagine an etheric circle of beautiful souls. It could be all of us joined here together on this call, or you could see yourself in another light circle with your family or friends, however you would like to visualize this. And now, let's envision all of us. I will see all of us on this phone call in a light circle with Salma and Karen and myself. And we are holding hands, creating this beautiful circle of light. And though we may not know each other personally, we do, on some level, know each other deeply through our high heart centers. And now, I'd like you to envision the following. I will begin the sacred ritual, turning to my left to Selma, and I will look into her eyes, and she will look into mine, and I'm still holding her hands. As the rest of you are watching, still standing in the circle, and I say to her, in Lakesh. And she says, envision all of this in your mind's eye. She says back to me, looking me directly, most deeply into my eyes, Alakain. And we behold each other in this sacred space of no separation for some moments, beyond space and time, having dropped so fully into our sacred heart centers that perhaps we are even brought to a tear or two or more. And then very slowly, Salma turns to Karen and begins the same ritual with the same mantra, looking into Karen's eyes, saying, "In Lakesh," as Karen repeats back to her, "Alakain," knowing deeply within the cells of their being that I am you and you are me. There's nothing else. There's nobody else out there. And then we continue in this way for some moments around our circle of light. Feel this energy, this circuit of divine love moving through each of us in this ritual circle, opening and expanding our hearts in connection with our high heart center beyond what we ever imagined was possible. And now Karen turns to the next person, repeating, "In Lakesh," as the next person says back to her, "Alakain." And now I'll leave you a few moments in silence to envision the rest of the beings in our light circle connecting in this manner, in a way that we rarely connect in our daily lives. That is the essence of Namaste. I am you. You are me. I hurt you. I hurt me. And now please continue just for a few moments, seeing each person turning to the person at their left, one by one by one. Repeating, "In Lakesh, Alakain. In Lakesh, Alakain. In Lakesh, Alakain." Continue for a few moments in silence. So we are watching as each of the partners move deeper and deeper and deeper into their high heart centers. And now we are just about completing the circle. Seeing the last few pairs. of people merging with each other, repeating in Lakesh, Alakain. In Lakesh, Alakain. In Lakesh, Alakain. Until we move back to the beginning of the circle. By now, some of you may feel transported or altered in some way. So fully in the present here and now that nothing else exists. Moved more deeply into your joy, to all of the abundance that is your birthright, to a deep inner peace that passes understanding. And if you're like me, by the end of this ritual, you may be moved to tears.
You know, that's going to be one of the most heartfelt visualizations that I've experienced. In Lakesh, Alakain.
Yes.
I am you. You are me.
Yes, Selma. And as you say that, as I hear your voice, this is what is so remarkable about these calls, because we don't have to be in the physical. As you well know, we connect through the quantum field, and I felt a tingling all through my body as you said that to me. I have to say, this, like you, like the two of you and many of our listeners, I've been on my spiritual path for many, many years. And I will have to agree that for me, in its utter simplicity and yet sublime depth, has been one of the most powerful practices I ever learned, coming from the Maya. And at so many, I do this at my live events, and people really are in tears. And when I was in the Yucatan, we did this, believe it or not, for 45 minutes.
Oh.
We had a circle of about 20 of us, men and women. And Selma and Karen, by the end of that, every single one of us, had fallen to the ground, and we were weeping. It's just, see, to me, this is it. This is it. This is the core of all spiritual teaching.
Yeah, it's just.
And I have to say, in its simplicity and power, we get so inundated, all of us, with the busyness of life, with all these emotions that come up. If we could just drop to this place in those moments of angst, those moments of frustration, and connect with those we feel that have perhaps wronged us or whatever, and just step into this ritual at that moment, could change the dynamics of everything for everybody.
Absolutely, Karen. That is such a beautiful suggestion. If we could just remember to do that in the moment, and to, and to
and maybe
simply
not even
meet
in a
them.
circle, but just with those individuals, that little tiny circle,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, in any situation in our daily life that might
Yeah.
cause us frustration or angst, as you said. That's an excellent idea. This It can be and should be an ongoing meditation. And I always say at my events, even if you just picked one thing, whatever it is, if it was this, great. If it's Ho'oponopono, great. Whatever, if it's insight meditation from the Buddhist tradition, wonderful. Whatever it is, all of these practices. And this one for me, because I had such a deep experience of it, will bring you so much more deeply into your heart. And these mantras, Karen, you're absolutely right. You repeat them to yourself, and in an instant, in any moment, you will shift the energy of yourself and others. And you will be, the more you practice it, you will start to become a healing force by your very presence. You won't even have to say a word, because that's the energy you'll be transmitting through the toroidal field of your high heart center that will affect everyone around you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every time now when I think of namaste, I've heard so many different interpretations of how people use it, but now I will associate with namaste, I am you, you are me. In Lakesh, Alakane.
Yes. And they're such beautiful words, and sometimes at my events people say, well, why can't we just use the English words? I am you, you are me. And I say, well, think about it, because, our language brings us much more into that logical, structured left side of our brain, the use of language. And when we're speaking words that we're unfamiliar with, it actually has the reverse effect of bringing us more into the heart versus the head, out of language, in a sense.
Yes, so true.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Very much.
Right. And so many of our great wisdom traditions have given us such beautiful tools. And the Tibetan tradition, if you want to do another practice, I don't know if we have time. It's up to you.
Well,
I'm sure
we want to maybe... Sorry, go ahead, Karen.
I'm just checking to see how many questions have come in.
Do you want to maybe talk about your special offer that, Dana, you put together?
First, Dana?
Oh, sure. Yes. So much of what I've just shared with you, and really my whole life journey, which has been about this ongoing opening and expansion of my own heart, and my desire to share the kind of deep transformation that is available to us when we can. Again, it's an ongoing effort, and I know it does take work, and yet that work should also, I like to think of it as also play, holding that paradox, so that it brings us more joy. I created a course, Selma and Karen, to take this work deeper and further for a lasting inner transformation. And this is an online audio course called Awakening the Mystic Within, a course in self-mastery for higher living. Was actually inspired by one of my healing clients who, on her way out of my house several years ago, turned to me and said, Dana, I want you to design a course for me. And I had actually written in my notebook 2 weeks beforehand, design a course. It was a message from Spirit. I had no idea what it would be. And I said, VJ, this woman's in her 70s, well along her spiritual path. I said, what could I possibly teach you? She said, I don't care. I want to know everything you know, and I want it all in one place. So thank you, VJ. That's what I did. It's all, this course is unique in that I really weave together the ancient mystery school teachings of the ages. In fact, I call this course an initiation into the secret teachings of the ages, which includes a combination of in-depth esoteric content, transformational practices like the one we did, so many more, because there are 12 modules, energy transmissions, the energy behind the words. Because really, I say I am allowing myself to be used as an instrument of Spirit in my teaching, in my writing, in my healing work, one-on-one healing work, I'm really endeavoring to step aside and allow myself to be used as a sacred vessel to transmit and receive light and share light. And so many people have come to me and say, they've said, I've achieved so much in my life. I have a successful career. I have, a nice family. I have what we're supposed to have, but yet something is missing. And there must be something more, I keep hearing. And I also meet a lot of people who want to bring more joy. I've used that word a lot. Joy is a vibration. It's a state of being, like love. In fact, it encompasses love. They want to bring more joy and passion and purpose into their lives. So this course with these 12 downloadable MP3 audio recordings, 80 to 120 minutes each, taking you through all of the esoteric wisdom of the ages, all the way back to Atlantis and Lemuria, the Egyptian mysteries. I take you on guided journeys of the temples of light in Egypt to accelerate your ascension process, to more fully ignite your own divine power and purpose. There is a whole module on alchemy, the great work, which in alchemy means you. We are the great work. 7 steps to inner alchemical transformation. The Essene way of life. I happen to have a really strong heart connection with the ancient Essenes and their mystery school. They were the ones who prepared Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and all of that inner circle for the death and resurrection ritual that he was to go through. And on the heels of that, there's a module on the Holy Grail and Christ consciousness, the secrets of the Knights Templar. Included in that, 2 modules on healing, which I believe are worth the entire price of the course alone, going into a lot of ascension teachings on healing and the teachings of David Hawkins and Ramsa, the Ascended Master, and many others, and Ascended Master teachings. Another module, Eastern Mysticism, Indigenous Wisdom. So really, what is so unique about this is it's all packaged right here at your fingertips, so that you can refer to it over and over again, designed to save you a lot of time and expense in, going to countless courses over time.
And how many libraries would you have to go through to sift and sort and go through all of this when Dana has really done all the legwork, and I literally legwork around the planet for you?
Right. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, and I just want to add, Selma and Karen, that, really there are, as I said, if your listeners resonated with what I shared and we all shared today, then this will take them even deeper, I promise. And this will ignite a lasting inner transformation. And some of the benefits designed into this course is to really catalyze people to embody their truth and highest calling more fully, and to inspire others to do the same, and to operate more consistently from a place of deep gratitude, trust, and joy. And perhaps we do that to some extent in our lives. We can do it on an even deeper level. This course will help you get there. And also to learn how to dissolve any obstacles, anything that may be standing in your way, to fully receiving life's gifts, to all of the flow of abundance that is your divine birthright, that is all around you at every moment. And to become an instrument of sacred service, as I mentioned earlier, and a healing force through your very presence. These are some of the transformations and benefits that this course offers.
And plus, you're providing a 30-minute personal soul session consultation by either telephone or Skype. That's also in this package. That alone, I think, is worth the whole price of the package.
Yes, exactly. And yes, the course normally sells for $4.95, and for your listeners today, and because I'm so grateful and honored really to be here with all of you, we're giving them a special discounted price of $3.95 for the course. And then, yes, Karen, this complimentary 30-minute private phone call with me, which I call a soul mission call, which will enable you to get clarity on your soul's mission and your most pressing concerns, to gain greater access to your inner wisdom and power, and to assist you even more in creating the outcomes you desire. So I'm very excited to share this.
Thank you so much. I wanted to read this testimonial. It says, I felt a poignant change in my physical body after I listened to the first module of Awakening the Mystic Within. I was experiencing some severe pain in my lower back, which seems to have dissipated. I was walking this morning and on the way practiced your meditation. Amazing. God is certainly using you and your work to help others and open minds and eyes that may have otherwise remained closed. And that's Bonnie from Atlanta. For the people that are on the webcast page, which is at unboundedpotential.com/2016-Dana, Dana-Micucci, Micucci. You'll just scroll down a little bit to that View Special Offer button, which will take you to a description in detail of Dana's special offer, and you can read more, see how that feels for you, and if you feel this is yes for you, just click on the click to purchase now button. Is that what it's called? Yeah, it's got something like that. Lots of testimonials there, lots of description of the audios, and I'm just scrolling down, but my mouse isn't cooperating. Can we be one with our mouth?
What was that?
Can we do the same thing with technical things that we just did in that retreat?
Oh, right, to say in Lakesh Alakeh. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
It may help.
It may help.
Yeah.
Break down the barriers.
Yeah. But even through all these modules, listening to you, Dana, even like on today's interview, it's just like there is just, not mesmerized, but there's just an essence in you. That there is just it comes deep from the heart. That's what I truly, truly feel. And I know through these modules when you go through the different things, it's just you and your voice. There's an edge there. There's an energy. There's just a heartfelt compassion. This is you.
Thank you, Selma. That's the ultimate compliment. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's just there's just something there, and I just really, really feel that. And it's a journey, and you're sharing that journey, and I think it's great. It's great. We're gonna
go ahead. No, I want to say it brings me so much joy to be able to share this, and
yes, and you just. You just make it almost like it's a beautiful, and it's a wonderful, it's a wonderful world out there.
It kind of reminds me of my daughter and I just watched the movie Inside Out. I don't know if anybody else has seen that animation. It's a Disney movie created by Pixar. And it really talks about all the emotions that go inside. And joy is always, that was the core essence of who we were born with, is joy within. And it's all of these little life situations that pop up that create all these other emotions. And Joy is always, always, always doing whatever she can in this movie to bring you back to joy, right? And it was kind of interesting, and it's kind of all connected. I don't know if anybody's seen that movie, but it was brilliant.
Oh, I'm glad to know about that, Karen. That is such a beautiful message for our time, and is really at the core of my work in the world. And that it does seem to be a theme this year, right? And there is that movie called Joy, which is about weathering adversity and maintaining one's joy even through the darkest of times.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Wonderful,
right.
Wonderful.
Okay, you've got another meditation for us, but I'm wondering if I could maybe we'll take a caller, and then maybe we'll take a dashboard question. So, let me just take the one from Deidre from Vancouver. She says, Dana, hello. Are you finding that 2016 will be a defining moment for feminine energies coming more into the forefront? Thank you.
Yes, Deirdre. Her name is Deirdre?
Yeah, Deidre
Yes.
from Vancouver.
Yes, Deirdre, great question. I absolutely do. I think this is the moment now. There is a huge influx of divine feminine energy now available to us all. And you may be aware that the presence of Mary Magdalene also has been on the uprise these past years, and her beautiful energy. I don't myself like to personify these beings. I will simply say the archetype and the energy of the Magdalene is here now. And really this underpins energetically so much of my work with her energy working through me. It's here now to rebalance this equation, absolutely, and to bring the masculine and feminine into balance, to integrate them, because as we all know, they have been so out of balance in favor of the masculine for so many years, to the, unfortunate suppression of the female voice in many, many realms. And this is all being corrected. It's being recalibrated now, and it's a very exciting time to be alive. We've all heard about the New Age, and there's so many other words for it. I call it the New Renaissance. It's a renaissance of the heart, and this is what the Divine Feminine stands for, that beautiful, heart-centered, creative, nurturing energy and the worthiness to receive that we all need more of, that I really believe is going to transform our planet. So the new Renaissance, the new paradigm, the new Camelot, the new Jerusalem, the new age, this is the time to be here, and boy, is it an exciting journey.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Wonderful. We do
Dana,
have somebody with their hand up.
Can I just ask a quick question here?
Sure.
Just, Dana, going back to, the Mary Magdalene here, I was reading an excerpt there that you visited, the basilica with that had, I think the relics of her remains there, right? And you talked about an emotional moment. Like, take us back there. You love exploded, I think, within you. There was just like an energy. Can you just talk to us about that? I was quite mesmerized by that.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Selma, for bringing that up. It was my intention to actually speak about that today, so you read my mind. Yes, I was on a sacred journey. This was not one that appeared in my book, Sojourns. This happened afterwards, in 2011, to the sites in the south of France associated with Mary Magdalene and the alternative history, which I personally believe is the true history of her life after the Christ drama in the Holy Land, and where she supposedly landed in the south of France, and continued her work as a great teacher and mystic and healer there, and settling around that area for some time, and then by some accounts, then continuing on to Great Britain. So what happened to me is when I went into that basilica, I didn't know what to expect. And again, I'm speaking outside of the confines of religion. I went in to connect with her energy. And yes, her sarcophagus is what is claimed to be. Her sarcophagus is there, with what is claimed to be her relics inside the sarcophagus. Well, I didn't know what to expect. I wrote about this, Selma, as you just said, and I found myself falling to my knees and weeping almost immediately as soon as I entered this energy field around her sarcophagus. I was really overcome, because that is certainly not like me. I'm a very private person. I'm not given to public displays of emotion of any kind. And in that sense, extreme emotion. And one of my fellow travelers, one of the women, had to help me back up to my feet. And I just looked at her and I said, I didn't know this kind of love was possible. And it was almost as if I had tapped in to some circuit, some electrifying circuit of divine love that she and Yeshua embodied, right, when they were here in body, and still do in their energetic aspects. So that was extremely transformative, and that inspired me to go back and rewrite my novel, The Third Muse, which had been in my life for 25 years, believe it or not, and it was completely overlit by the Magdalene's presence. I could write a book on the miracles surrounding the writing of that book. I would get up in the morning and smell roses in my office.
Wow.
I would receive emails, very bizarrely, from the names of the characters in my book, from people I didn't even know. Giovanna Turnabani is the portrait of Giovanna Turnabani, the woman in the Renaissance painting on the book cover, who becomes a character in the book. And just very quick to give a background, her painting is stolen in the book, and my young heroine, Lena Leone from New York City, who happens to be a journalist, is on the trail of the stolen painting, and she really gets into much more than she bargained for, where Giovanna begins to reach out to her through time and serves as her spiritual guide, and Giovanna is an initiate in the Magdalene Order and the Magdalene Mysteries, and she initiates Lena, in a nutshell, into these mysteries and opens Lena to a much more expansive love after many, many harrowing, life-threatening situations. So it was really remarkable. I mean, I even actually gave a talk at Giovanna's former palazzo in Florence this past October. It turned out that her palazzo still exists, and the Four Seasons Residence Club had taken it over and refurbished it to its Renaissance grandeur. I was just astounded to actually have been invited there to speak about my novel about Giovanna Turnabani in her former palazzo, and then to find out that in the 16th century, after her time, her home became known as the House of the Muses. And the name of my novel is The Third Muse.
Oh, my.
So there were many,
Lots
many.
of synchronicities.
Yeah, so there were many more. But yes, that's right, an addendum to the question on the divine feminine, and that's my connection with the Magdalene, and it's ongoing. And I'll continue to write. I've been a writer for a long time, and I'll continue to write books. And I already have a sequel in mind for The Third Muse.
Great. Well, you are a wonderful writer. Thank you for sharing that. That's just, I know I had read that and go like, and it was just like, it was breathtaking, and just the feeling and the love and that you felt, and wow, thank you.
Selma, I'm just going to interject for a moment that your audio is really off.
Okay.
So
I was having a little problem hearing you, Selma.
So, Selma, if you could just redial in, that would be great, and then we'll just recontinue. Could you do that?
Great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't take too long. We have some questions coming up here. So I might just take the first one here.
Okay.
We have an anonymous caller. The line is open. If you could tell us your name and your question for Dana, please. Hello.
Hi, I think I'm Irene.
Oh, hi, Irene.
Hi.
What's your question for Dana?
I have been totally blown up into the stratosphere. Her information and her insight is just totally overwhelming. And
Wonderful.
It's like I'm in a different place than when I started to listen to this conversation. I have been living mainly from the upper chakras, and my heart is open, but I am dealing with so many visual aspects of the funny thing is I used to see the grid system for many years, and it was always becoming more complex. And at some point when I would look at myself, I would be part of the grid. And suddenly it disappeared. And I think we're moving from the mind center, third dimension, to the heart center, fifth dimension, so the grid doesn't exist anymore. but I am getting bombarded with light. And last week, I actually felt like a light tower, and these wonderful colors were coming out of me, and the colors were see-through with a crystalline quality to them. And most of the time when I see things, it's just for a millisecond. I blink and it's all over. But this time, it was almost like a minute. This light was pulsating, and I'm not sure if it's coming into me or leaving me. So I was wondering if you could tune into that.
Oh, Eileen, what you've described is so beautiful, and really at the heart of the ascension process, with you having opened your heart to such a vast degree that you are able to receive all of this light. And I will say, yes, it can be, when we get these huge influxes of light, as beautiful and sublime as that feels and altering, it can also be disturbing and unsettling to our systems, because what's happening, as you have probably felt in your body, is that our bodies are also changing. They're being recalibrated at a cellular level. The shapes of our cells are changing. They're becoming more permeable to light. We are now more of a silica-based than a carbon-based being, more crystalline, as you so rightly said. So it's a lot of this is really about taking good care of ourselves and grounding. When you said you spend so much time in your higher chakras, which many of us do now because we're just being blown wide open. And a lot of that, those
I am really not grounded. You're absolutely right. And the colors that I saw with that vibrational process, I could actually see through them, so that's why I thought they were more crystalline. And our bodies are turning crystalline.
They absolutely are, yes. And so for you, so that you can fully integrate all this beautiful light that you're receiving, fully integrated, because if it's not grounded in, you're only receiving part of it, and the rest of it is floating around you, or right around your crown and your chakras. You need to pull it in more down into, with my healing clients, I have them visualize a waterfall pouring through their crown chakra. I love to work with the water spirits. If you are you connected to the water?
Yes, I am by the East River.
Okay. If you can also, even, I know in the winter it's not as easy, but to be near moving water can be very grounding, and it also clears your aura with the negative ions. So I did this a lot here where I live in the desert in the summer. We had some raging rapids, gentle ones, but my husband and I would go sit in the rapids and literally allow this waterfall to wash over us to really assist us in grounding in the light. And if you can even just sit on the earth, I know it's cold in New York, it's winter now everywhere, but except in South America, the southern hemisphere, I mean. If you can also, when possible, when the weather gets nicer, to walk on the ground in your bare feet.
Yes, grounding is very important for me, and I wanted to mention to you that I love water and I love waterfalls. And years ago, I had an experience with a multi-level waterfall in Pennsylvania when I was walking down on the rocky path, and the idea came to me that I'm going to travel the waterfall, and I had no idea what that meant. And at the base of it, there was this stone that was perfect to stand on. And when I looked up, I was traveling with the speed of light. It was the most intoxicating feeling that you could ever have.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, just keep doing the incredible work you're doing to receive all this light, and at the same time, just remember some of those, simple yet important things. One thing I like to do to ground is to dance as well. Do you like to dance?
Mm-hmm. Yes, except I have two knees that are not happy. I am in the process. I need to heal myself. I don't want to have surgery. I really believe that we can heal ourselves.
Yes, I completely believe that also. But I really think, and you can read up you already know about grounding and earthing, and there is a lot of scientific evidence on the electrons that come through our feet. And if it's not bare feet now in the winter, I like to wear, instead of wearing my tennis shoes when I go on hikes, if it's not too icy, I will wear leather-soled boots because those electrons.
Yes, it connects you.
It connects you better. Yes. So
I have a lot
like
of
that.
healing energy, but somehow it's blocked. I don't know whether it's a chakra issue or.
Well, like I say, it feels like, and as you said, that your energy is really up in the higher chakras. You have to work and come up with some meditations using the waterfall to bring the light down through your central column and open and activate your lower chakras and see their colors. If you want to contact me privately, we could, or if you want to buy the course and get the 30-minute session, or we could talk about a healing session. But it's really important that you open and activate those lower chakras.
Thank you so much. How would I contact you?
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you're such a gift. I really appreciate everything.
Thank you, Eileen.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, you can contact me on my website, which is danamicucci.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Selma, do you have any other questions?
Okay. Just somebody wanted to. She wanted to make sure about. Let me see here. Rosabella from Toronto. There, she was saying she wanted to. She said, I find it very difficult to repeat anyone's words unless I know their meaning first. So, is that kind of like she's probably talking about the, like the Inla Lakesh and Alakane, right?
Alakane. Yes, that's what it means. It means I am another yourself. And a good book that I could recommend for her to go to get more in-depth wisdom on that is The Mayan Oracle by Ariel Spilsbury and Michael Brenner. And she can read more about In Lakesh Alakane. But that's exactly what it means. I am another yourself.
Okay.
Which is, I am you, you are me. It's the same thing.
Okay. Good. Right. Do we have time for one more question? Another hand just went up.
Well,
yes?
All right.
Your time's okay, Dana?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's just take one more question. And then we're going to do the meditation.
Hello, you're on the line. Area code 864 from, looks like, South Carolina. If you could tell us your name and your question for Dana, please.
Hi.
Hello.
How
Who are we
you?
speaking with? We're fine. Who are we
Jerry.
speaking with?
This is Jody.
Hi, Jerry.
Jody, yeah.
Okay.
I missed most of the call. I just kind of called in at the end here, but I guess I was just wondering if maybe you could do a read on see if I'm opened, and, everything's kind of going well. I do my meditative work every day and make sure I'm grounding myself, especially in 2016 here with all these new energies coming in and totally upgrading almost daily, if not moment by moment. I'm really trying to open up my intuition, and
that's exactly what came to me, Jody. I scanned your chakras, and it's your third eye. I mean, you seem pretty clear as your third eye could be open a bit more. Yeah, so if somehow you can work on that, I find that shamanic journeys are a very excellent way to expand and flex that third eye muscle.
In what way? I mean, actually going on a journey?
Yeah, you would
I would
go
love
on.
to. I have a couple grandchildren I'm raising here, so my life is kind of confined to to a year and a half, 1.5-year-old and a 11-year-old.
Interesting. Okay. Well, this could be very exciting for you. You would
sometimes
yes, choose to take a journey in addition to your, I'm sure, exciting journeys with your grandchildren, to take a journey in the etheric realm. And what I sometimes ask my clients to do is to pose a question to yourself. And I don't know if you are trained in shamanic journeying. Do you know about it?
I have read about it, but I've never really practiced it to speak, to so to say.
Okay. Well, I would recommend that we can't get into the depths of it. I'm actually trained, a trained shamanic healing practitioner, and so I do a lot of these journeys myself in my healing work. And one of my healing sessions is shamanic soul retrieval. Now, that's just on the side. But for you to, and that really ignites a lot of deep, deep ancient inner healing, and I travel throughout people's past lives and timelines to retrieve fragmented soul parts. But for you to further activate and open your third eye chakra, you would get a rattle or a drum, put yourself into an altered state. It sounds like you're an experienced practitioner. You can even just do it through your own meditations. The shamanic tradition uses a rattle or a drum. And then call upon your guides. Now, this is very much in a nutshell. I'm going to recommend you to further reading after I tell you this. Okay. Call upon your guides and allies, power animals, if you have any, for support as you travel through the dimensions to wherever you are guided to go. Ask a question. What do you most need to know? And you will be amazed at the information that comes to you. But you have to really let go. You have to really trust that inner vision, that intuition that you do have, that I'm just feeling like you kind of, it's like there's a cover over your third eye that just simply needs to be removed. And
well, I'm ready to blast it. I'm ready to blast through.
So look up more about the shamanic journey. Hank Wesselman is a really good teacher on that. Look up more about it and start doing your own journeys. That will greatly expand your third eye powers.
Awesome. And you said you said this Hank Williamson. That's a good.
His name's Hank Wesselman. Hank Wesselman. He has a number of books.
I'm trying to write.
Wesselman. Yeah.
Okay.
He has a number of books, and you can look them up. And you'll get more specifics. It's just very detailed to go into on this call to tell you the other steps, but I just outlined it for you.
Right. I understand. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye.
Dana, how's your voice doing? Can you take us
Selma,
through?
You're still crackling. I don't know what that is, but that's okay.
Did you ask me a question?
Well, I was just wondering if you could take us through your, maybe your Tibetan meditation mantra.
Yes, I would love to. That would be perfect. Yes, it's, I don't know if some of your listeners may be familiar with it, if they've been a student of Buddhism. That was actually one of my really first deep immersions on my own spiritual path was into the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. And again, I talked about how so many of the heart-based wisdom teachings of the world's wisdom traditions are very similar. And interestingly enough, I'm sure many of you have heard of the Heart Sutra, which comes from Tibetan Buddhism. Now, remember when I kept saying that one of my favorite mantras is dropping out of my head and into my heart? Well, how interesting that the subtitle of the Heart Sutra is The Perfection of Wisdom, the Cure to the Illusory Mind, right? And pretty much this was given to us this long. It's a very complex sutra. You can look it up online. We're going to do a practice involving the last few lines of it in just a moment, but I wanted to give you people some background, is that this Teach Sutra means teaching in Sanskrit, and it was given to us by Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion in Buddhism, and its Chinese aspect is Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy and compassion. And the Heart Sutra is a healing medium. So when we chant the entire Heart Sutra, or even just the last few lines, which we'll do in a moment, we can really focus on our heart center as we chant these words in Sanskrit and see this energy moving out from our heart into our blood, circulating throughout our entire body, igniting healing outcomes wherever we need it. It can dissolve dense, heavy, unwanted energies and emotions that may be lodged anywhere. Let's say perhaps sadness in the heart chakra or the throat chakra, or unworthiness in the stomach chakra. And any of this can be dissolved. It's a very powerful, again, very much like the In Lakesh Alakane, in its beautiful simplicity, can take us very deeply. And so by focusing this energy as we chant the lines from the sacred text, we can transcend, really dissolve any emotional toxins and sufferings, and ultimately transcend them, and in the Buddhist tradition, return them to the void, to emptiness, which is their word for the void. And remember when I was talking about the integration of duality and performing that alchemical transmutation within the sacred heart crucible, the high heart, that's called the Hyros Gamos. Well, that was all about paradoxes, right? About merging the masculine and feminine, the spirit and matter, the sacred and the sensual, light and dark, everything within ourselves. Interestingly, the Heart Sutra speaks in those very paradoxical terms. Some of the early lines of the sutra given to us by Avalokiteshvara: body is nothing more than emptiness. Emptiness is nothing more than body. All things are empty. Nothing is born, nothing dies. Nothing is pure, nothing is stained. Nothing increases and nothing decreases. And the Buddhists throughout the world, and it's much longer, chant this at least once a day, preferably in temples, and sometimes more than that. So if you would like to really move into that non-dual space of unity consciousness, I would highly recommend looking online and printing out a copy of the entire Heart Sutra. Right now, I would like to take us through the very last lines of the sutra, which are a heart-calming meditation. And you can do this anytime throughout the day. And if you can't remember the Sanskrit words as I will say them, you will find them online. You'll see them at the very end of the Heart Sutra. And these last few lines are Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi Svaha. In the same way that In Lakesh Alakane takes us into that transcendent space of the high heart chakra in direct alignment with Source and unity consciousness, so does the Heart Sutra, and particularly these last lines. Translated, those Sanskrit terms mean gone, gone, gone over, completely across, awakened, so be it. Okay, so what I'd like to do is for all of us together, out loud, wherever you are in the world, to chant this. You may also, we're going to do it 9 times together, and just follow, you just listen to the words and they will come to you. You can place your hands over your heart as you do this, keeping your attention focused on your high heart center, just above the heart. And you could also cup your heart. I do both, whatever. Obviously, if you're on the phone, you probably can only use one hand. So let's just take a few moments again to ground fully into Mother Earth. Take a few deep breaths. Feel yourself really connecting and grounding to the crystalline core of Mother Earth. And then together we're going to chant the sacred Sanskrit lines from the Heart Sutra. 9 times, I'll tell you when to stop. Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha. 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 gate gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha, gate gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha, gate gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gone, 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 completely across. Awakened. So be it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Selma, are you still with us?
I'm just taking it in. Helpless. Oh. Wow. Dana, that was something else.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Again, something, if we can just remember, you have to get used to the words. As I said, you'll find them online. And just to remember, anytime we need to recenter into our hearts, to calm our hearts, to move out of the distractions and worries and fears of our daily lives, and we all get them. We get all those curveballs all the time. The real key is being able to remember in the moment, to take the spiritual tool out of your box and use it, and to be able to sustain this vibration over time, which is a vibration of crystalline neutrality, which is also, interestingly, how we can most deeply access our joy. Crystalline neutrality. We're not being thrown off like a pendulum swing by our emotions.
Thank you. Now, just a reminder, dear listeners, if you want to go further with Dana's work, she's got a really, really outstanding special offering, Awakening the Mystic Within, A Course in Self-Mastery for Higher Living. It's on special for $3.95. It consists of 12, 80 to 120-minute MP3 audio recording, and she's got activations and meditations, and she just talks about just a whole new world for you. And plus, she's got a 30-minute personal soul session time with her. And VJ from New Mexico, as there's an essence of what this is all about. These teachings and tools have taken me to a new level of spiritual embodiment, enabled me to live more deeply and fully. I have a more powerful vision of who I am and what I can become. Perfect for the modern mystic. So that's an awesome, awesome testimonial. Mm-hmm. Dana, we thank you very much with our heartfelt thanks for being with us. Your words and your compassion have really helped us navigate the world's timeless mysteries, teachings, and you've given us much, much greater clarity. We are honored that you have spent this time with us.
Thank you so much, Selma and Karen. I'm honored to, and I just am very grateful to have been here with the two of you and all of your listeners.
No, thank you very, very much. And we want to say a big thank you to our dear listeners. May you always be more, love more, live more, and never settle for less. Go beyond. Create amazement, everyone. Thank you always for joining us. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
We truly hope you enjoyed today's presentation to assist you in going beyond.
Until next time, be more, love more, live more, and never settle for less.